for me, art is a life. It really is a life immersed in the discovery of what that means and how I then will produce something. I'm a visual artist, so to me that's of tremendous value. But equally so, I'm inspired by other artists, writers, dancers, musicians, people who even teach it. I'm always impressed at, there's always something new to add to this sea or ocean of knowledge and experience that I have. Well, as a child, I certainly had access to all kinds of wonderful art materials. I actually was surrounded by art growing up as a child, and both parents were artists, professional artists. So I think that had the beginnings of planting the seed that this is something that is easy to do. There's no big deal around it. Just, I guess this is what everybody does. I think the value to that is that by being exposed early in your childhood, you don't have a conflict in why you have to do this. You're not struggling with any big angst, right? It just seems like the next natural or next logical thing to participate in. But I did make a decision. There was a day that at age 13, I made a decision to become an artist. I thought, all right, I think I've figured this out and I'm going for it. And by having made that decision within a year, less than a year, I had my first official show, if you will. I was a kid in a camp down in Florida, sea camp, and I brought with me a bunch of watercolor paintings, big and small, and I sold them to my fellow campers for $1 and $2 and $3. The camp administrator came up to me and they said, we'd like to buy 2 of your bigger pieces, and they gave me $50 a piece for it. And that seemed to somehow solidify it to me. All of a sudden, I'd arrived by having this show for a bunch of kids, and to this day, I believe the work is still down there, which is exciting. And when I came back, I had $147 American to put in an account, to open up my first business bank account. And also within that same summer, with that same kind of chutzpah, I walked into a bank on St. Clair Avenue, I believe it was Bank of Nova Scotia, and asked to see the manager, and proceeded to tell him that he needed my artwork in his bank and that he should commission me to do some work. And he did, bless his heart. And I came back with 2 paintings, and he paid me $75. Now this is back in the 60s. And you know, $75 to a teenager at that time was pretty amazing. So I was on my way. I do have several artists who I think their work and what they were approaching with their work is spectacular. One of them is Georgia O'Keeffe. I just think her ideas, the simplicity, the depth, the color, the form, the emotion that comes with what she's created. I think it's just wonderful. I love Monet's work. Hockney is another one, the British. His work is so amazingly different, and it comes at a very odd angle, and it's not out of sync, but you feel like you're sliding through dimensions with his work. Actually, there are so many wonderful artists that I really appreciate that they've brought their gifts and expressions to the world, that we have their work to actually go back, look at, and reflect on. And there's a great expression I heard that artists help create the signature of a civilization. Like when you do archaeology, you're sure you're going to dig up some cool stuff, but when you're digging up shards of pottery, they're basically information about taxes collected, or how they did their monetary, how they paid for things. Those necessarily are not the things that people are going to go to museums to look at. They're going to go to look at the wonderful, beautiful artwork that craftsmen, artisans, artists had created and left a legacy. And a lot of times those people weren't considered artists to begin with. That was just part of their duty in a sense, and they had these skill sets, but nonetheless, we're all the richer for knowing what our history is about through the expressions of these pieces of jewelry, carvings on walls, murals, whatever that is left, we become the benefactors of that previous time.